The bank notification flashed on Jason's phone like a slap to the face. $0, account balance. His stomach dropped. That wasn't possible. He had millions in that account, everything he'd poured into the company for the last 5 years. His fingers trembled as he dialed his CFO, but the call went straight to voicemail. Again. Then the email came through. Subject: resignation effective immediately. Attached was a single document, a signed agreement transferring all of Jason's shares to his business partner, Daniel Carter. And just like that, his life's work was gone. Jason's office door burst open before he could process the betrayal. His assistant, Mia, stood frozen in the doorway, her face pale. "They're here," she whispered. Footsteps echoed down the hall. Heavy, deliberate. Security. Daniel wasn't just stealing the company. He was erasing Jason from it. Jason grabbed his laptop and shoved it into his bag. "How long do I have?" Mia's throat bobbed. "Less than a minute." A crash came from the lobby. Voices. Laughter. Daniel's laughter. Jason moved to the window. 20th floor, no fire escape. No way out. Mia tossed him a keycard. "Service elevator. Go now." He hesitated. "What about you?" Her smile was razor thin. "I quit 5 minutes ago." The door to the office flew open just as Jason slipped into the hall. Behind him, Daniel's voice rang out, smooth as always. "Jason, let's talk about this like adults." Jason didn't look back. The service elevator descended at a crawl. Jason's pulse hammered in his ears. Every floor felt like an eternity. His phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Watch your back. He's not done with you." Jason's breath hitched. Who the hell was this? The elevator dinged. Basement level. The doors slid open to reveal 2 security guards, their expressions grim. "Mr. Carter said you might try to leave early." Jason's grip tightened on his bag. Daniel had planned this. Every step. The guards advanced. Then, a deafening bang from above. The lights flickered. The guards' radios crackled to life. "Fire alarm. All personnel evacuate." Jason didn't wait. He bolted past them, into the maze of underground parking. Behind him, one guard shouted into his radio. "He's heading for the garage. Stop him." Tires screeched ahead. A black SUV peeled around the corner, headlights blinding. Jason braced himself, until the passenger window rolled down. Mia stared back at him, her knuckles white on the wheel. "Get in." Asterisk now. The SUV tore through the city streets, weaving between traffic. Jason twisted in his seat, watching for pursuers. "How did you know?" he demanded. Mia's jaw clenched. "Because I've been watching Daniel funnel money for months. I tried to warn you." Jason's stomach turned. He had ignored the irregularities, the delayed reports, the sudden accounting errors. Daniel had always smoothed it over with a joke, a pat on the back. Asterisk, "Trust me, Jason. We're partners." Asterisk. And Jason had. His phone buzzed again. Another message, this time with an attachment. He opened it. A video. Daniel, sitting in Jason's office chair, smirking at the camera. "By now, you've realized you're broke," Daniel said, swirling a glass of whiskey. "But here's the fun part. You're also framed. Check the news." Jason's fingers flew across his phone. The headline blared. Tech CEO Jason Reed under investigation for embezzlement. His vision blurred. This wasn't just theft. It was annihilation. Mia's voice cut through the panic. "Jason, look at me." He met her gaze. "We're getting it all back," she said, her voice steel. "But first, we disappear." The SUV accelerated toward the highway, leaving the city and Jason's old life behind. The SUV's tires screeched as Mia took the off-ramp too fast, nearly sideswiping a delivery truck. Jason braced himself against the dashboard, his dress shoes slipping on empty coffee cups littering the floorboards. "Where are we going?" His voice sounded foreign to himself, too sharp, too desperate. Mia's knuckles whitened on the wheel. "Somewhere he can't freeze your assets." She threw a burner phone into his lap. "Check the glove compartment." Jason popped it open. A stack of passports spilled out, all his photo, different names. Beneath them, a silver key taped to a slip of paper with coordinates. "What the hell is this?" Mia didn't flinch as she ran a red light. 3 years ago, Daniel incorporated a shell company called Marigold Holdings. "I've been tracking the paper trail." She nodded to the key. "Safety deposit box in Zurich." Enough to start over. The revelation hit like a punch. Mia had been preparing for this. For months. Maybe years. Jason stared at his assistant. No, his accomplice now, seeing the sharp angles of her profile in the passing streetlights. Who was this woman really? His stolen phone buzzed again. Another video. Daniel's smirking face filled the screen, backdropped by Jason's own office. TikTok, partner. Daniel held up a familiar blue USB drive, the prototype Jason had spent 18 months developing. You've got 48 hours to turn yourself in, or I erase the encryption codes. Poof. All that work gone. The screen cut to black, then flashed with GPS coordinates. The industrial park where they'd first started the company in a rented warehouse. A trap so obvious it circled back to terrifying. Mia's breath hitched. That's our original server farm. Jason's mouth went dry. Where we keep the master backups. The SUV swerved as Mia suddenly changed lanes, cutting across 3 lanes of traffic to take the next exit. Horns blared behind them. What are you doing? Zurich's the other. We're not running. Mia's voice dropped to something dangerous. That USB holds your life's work. Your patents. Your proof Daniel stole the algorithms. Jason's stomach roiled. She was right. Without those codes, he'd be just another disgraced CEO with nothing but lawsuits ahead. But walking into that warehouse, headlights appeared behind them. 2 sets, moving too fast, staying precisely 3 car lengths back. Mia's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. We've got company. Jason turned to see the black sedans keeping pace, their tinted windows revealing nothing. No plates either. Professional tail. Mia slammed the gas, the SUV lurching forward as she took a sharp right into a narrow alley. Dumpsters scraped both sides of the vehicle with a metallic scream. Hold on. The alley dead-ended at a chain-link fence. Mia didn't brake. Jason barely had time to brace before they crashed through, the fence shrieking as it tore apart. The pursuing cars screeched to a halt, too wide to follow. For now, Mia didn't slow down. Listen carefully. Daniel didn't act alone. That shell company? It's tied to the Velis Group. Ice flooded Jason's veins. Velis, the private equity firm that had been trying to acquire them for years. The same firm Daniel had insisted they reject. A new email alert chimed on the burner phone. Jason opened it to find a scanned document, a notarized contract dated 6 months ago, showing Daniel's signature alongside Velis CEO Dmitry Volkov's. The terms? Full acquisition, contingent on removing Jason from the equation. Mia's voice turned grim. This was never just about money. They wanted you out of the industry. The pieces clicked together with horrifying clarity. Daniel hadn't just stolen his company. He'd sold Jason's technology, his life's work, to predators who would bury it. All those patents, all those breakthroughs, locked away to protect some billionaire's outdated empire. Jason's hands shook. Not with fear now. With rage. The SUV roared onto the highway, putting distance between them and the city. Somewhere ahead lay answers. Somewhere behind, a web of lies stretching further than he'd imagined. And in 48 hours, a reckoning in that warehouse. The highway stretched endlessly before them, a black ribbon cutting through the night. Jason watched the mile markers blur past, each one carrying him further from everything he'd built. The burner phone in his hand felt like a lead weight, its screen still displaying that damning contract between Daniel and Velis. Mia downshifted as they approached an abandoned rest stop, the SUV's headlights revealing broken pavement and graffiti-covered picnic tables. We need to switch vehicles, she said, killing the lights. Jason's fingers dug into the armrest as they rolled to a stop behind a derelict gas station. A lone flickering bulb cast long shadows across the cracked concrete. How long have you known about Velis? Mia didn't answer immediately. She reached under her seat and produced a black duffel bag, tossing it into Jason's lap. Inside were stacks of cash, a pistol, and a set of license plates. 6 months, she finally said, right after Daniel started altering the quarterly reports. The admission hit Jason like a physical blow. 6 months. Half a year of deception happening right under his nose while Mia, played double agent? He studied her profile in the dim light, the tightness around her mouth, the way her fingers drummed an uneven rhythm on the steering wheel. There was so much he didn't know about the woman who'd been his assistant for 3 years. A rusted sedan sat behind the gas station, its windshield cracked, but otherwise intact. Mia popped the trunk and began transferring supplies with practiced efficiency. This is our ride to the airstrip. There's a headlights sliced through the darkness. Both froze as a black SUV identical to theirs rolled slowly past the rest stop entrance. No plates. Dark tint. Jason's pulse pounded in his ears as the vehicle paused, its brake lights flaring red in the night. Mia's hand closed around the pistol. Get down. The seconds stretched unbearably. Then, with a squeal of tires, the SUV accelerated away. Jason exhaled sharply. They're hunting us. Not just us. Mia pulled a laptop from the duffel and booted it up. The screen's blue glow illuminated the dark circles under her eyes. They're after this. Security footage filled the display. Daniel in Jason's office, crouched beside the safe, inputting a code Jason didn't recognize. The timestamp showed yesterday, 3:17 a.m. That's impossible, Jason breathed. Only 2 people know that combination. Mia's gaze was unflinching. How long has Daniel been seeing your wife, Jason? The world tilted. Images flashed through his mind. Rebecca's unexplained absences, the new lingerie she'd started wearing, the way Daniel always seemed to drop by right after she left the office. The signs had been there. He just hadn't wanted to see them. A new alert pinged on the laptop. Mia's fingers flew across the keys. They've frozen your offshore accounts. Her brow furrowed. Wait, that's strange. Jason leaned in. What? Someone just transferred $2 million into a Cayman account under your name. She turned the screen toward him. From a Velas subsidiary. A cold realization settled over Jason. They're not just framing me for embezzlement. They're creating a paper trail that makes it look like I was working with them. Mia snapped the laptop shut. We need to move. Now. They abandoned the SUV, transferring to the rusted sedan. The engine coughed to life, sounding like it might give out at any moment. Mia navigated back roads with the precision of someone who'd memorized every turn. Jason watched the trees blur past, his mind racing. The airstrip you mentioned. Private charter to the Caymans. But we're not taking it. Mia's mouth set in a grim line. That's the trail we want them to follow. The first raindrops hit the windshield as they turned onto an unmarked dirt road. The sedan bounced violently over potholes, its suspension groaning in protest. After half a mile, a derelict barn loomed out of the darkness. Mia killed the engine. This is where we disappear. Inside, the barn smelled of mildew and gasoline. Mia went straight to a rusted tractor and turned a hidden valve behind its exhaust pipe. With a mechanical groan, a section of the floor slid aside, revealing a steep staircase. Jason stared. What the hell is this? Insurance. Mia grabbed a flashlight from the wall. Follow me. The stairs led to a bunker that looked like something from a spy movie. Monitors lined one wall, displaying news feeds and security camera footage. A weapons rack stood beside a bank of servers, their lights blinking rhythmically in the dim space. Jason's breath caught. On the center screen, a live feed showed his own home. Police cars crowded the driveway, their lights painting the manicured lawn in pulsing blues and reds. Mia typed a command, pulling up another camera angle, inside his house. Rebecca stood in the foyer, perfectly composed, speaking to officers. Not the distraught wife. The relieved accomplice. She knew, Jason whispered. Of course she knew. Mia's voice held no pity. The prenup would have left her with nothing in a divorce. A printer hummed to life, spitting out documents. Mia gathered them and thrust them at Jason. Flight manifests. Offshore transfers. Everything proving Daniel and Rebecca have been working with Velas for months. Jason leafed through the pages, his hands shaking. Why? Why go through all this trouble? Mia's expression darkened. She crossed to another terminal and pulled up a schematic. Jason's flagship product. The encryption algorithm that could revolutionize data security. Because you built something they can't control, she said quietly. Something that would make their entire surveillance business obsolete. The pieces clicked together with terrifying clarity. Velas didn't just want to bury his company. They needed to bury him. An alarm blared suddenly, red lights flashing. Mia swore and rushed to the monitors. One screen showed thermal imaging, 6 figures approaching the barn from different directions. They found us. Mia grabbed 2 packs from under the desk and tossed one to Jason. Time's up. A metallic clang echoed from above. Then another. They were breaching the barn. Mia yanked open a hidden panel in the wall, revealing a narrow tunnel. This leads to the river. There's a boat. Jason hesitated, staring at the monitors. At the life he was leaving behind. Mia grabbed his arm, her grip like steel. Choose right now. Revenge or survival. Another clang, closer this time. The sound of boots on the stairs. Jason made his choice. The tunnel swallowed them whole, its walls slick with condensation. Behind them, the first gunshots rang out. And 43 hours remained until the warehouse deadline. The tunnel's damp air clung to Jason's skin as he followed Mia through the narrow passage, their hurried footsteps echoing off the curved metal walls. The flashlight beam bounced erratically, illuminating patches of rust and decades-old graffiti. Somewhere behind them, muffled shouts and the occasional gunshot reminded them how close death trailed. Mia moved with unsettling familiarity, pausing at junctions Jason wouldn't have noticed. A slight indentation in the wall here, a discolored pipe there. She pressed her palm against a rusted valve wheel. "This leads to the storm drains," she whispered. "They'll expect us to head straight for the river." Jason's shoulder brushed against a cluster of wires running along the ceiling. "These tunnels, you've used them before." "Not these specifically." The wheel groaned as she turned it. "But every city has back doors if you know where to look." The hidden door swung open with a puff of stale air, revealing a concrete channel ankle-deep in foul-smelling water. Mia stepped in without hesitation, her boots splashing through the muck. Jason followed, the icy water seeping through his dress, shoes instantly. Somewhere in the distance, the rhythmic dripping of water created an eerie cadence. They'd gone about 50 yards when Mia suddenly stopped, pressing a finger to her lips. Jason froze. At first he heard nothing. Then, the unmistakable sound of boots on metal rungs. Someone was coming down a maintenance shaft ahead. Mia killed the flashlight. Total darkness swallowed them. Jason's pulse roared in his ears as the footsteps grew closer. A beam of light swept through the tunnel, passing just over their heads where they crouched behind a crumbling concrete divider. "Clear this section," a gruff voice called. Moving to checkpoint Delta. The light retreated. The footsteps faded. Jason exhaled shakily. "They're coordinating." Mia's face was ghostly pale in the faint light from her watch display. "Velis has their own paramilitary units. This isn't just corporate security hunting us." She checked the time. 39 hours left. They pressed on, the tunnel gradually sloping upward. The air grew marginally fresher. After another 20 minutes of silent movement, Mia stopped beneath a rusted ladder leading to a circular hatch. "Give me a boost." Jason laced his fingers together, trying not to wince as Mia stepped into his palms. His shoulders burned as he lifted her high enough to reach the hatch mechanism. Something clicked, and dim moonlight spilled through the opening. Mia climbed through, then reached back to help Jason up. They emerged in an overgrown cemetery, the crumbling headstones barely visible through the thick fog that had rolled in. The distant skyline of the city glowed faintly to the east. They traveled further than Jason realized. A mausoleum stood nearby, its marble facade streaked with black mold. Mia went straight to it, running her fingers along the edge of a carved angel's wing until something clicked. A section of the wall swung inward. Jason stared. "You're joking." Safe houses come in all forms. Mia disappeared inside. The interior smelled of dust and gun oil. Mia lit a single kerosene lantern, revealing a space about the size of a studio apartment. Cot in one corner, weapons locker in another, and a surprisingly sophisticated communications setup on a makeshift desk. Jason's legs nearly gave out. He sank onto the cot, his waterlogged shoes squelching. "Who are you really?" Mia ignored the question, instead tossing him a towel and a set of black tactical clothes. "Change. We've got about 6 hours before we need to move again." She turned to the equipment, powering up monitors that displayed news channels from around the world. Every one carried some variation of the same story. Disgraced tech CEO Jason Reed wanted for embezzlement. Last seen fleeing with company secrets. One screen showed Rebecca giving a tearful press conference. "I just want my husband to turn himself in," she said, dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue. "Whatever he's done, we can work through it." Jason's hands clenched into fists. The performance was flawless. The grieving, loyal wife. He'd seen that same calculated expression across boardroom tables for years and never recognized it for what it was. Mia followed his gaze. "She's good. She's a sociopath." Jason stood, peeling off his ruined dress shirt. "How did I not see it?" "You weren't looking." Mia handed him a tablet. "Because you didn't want to." The screen displayed a series of encrypted emails between Rebecca and someone listed only as Dmitry Volkov. Jason scrolled through them, each one more damning than the last. Meeting arrangements, instructions for accessing his safe, even discussions about how to handle the Jason problem. The most recent message, sent just 3 hours ago. Asset retrieval proceeding. Package will be secured by deadline. Jason's stomach turned. On the package. Mia nodded grimly, pulling up another file, blueprints of the warehouse where Daniel had set their meeting. They're not just after your codes. They want you to personally hand them over, then disappear. So it looks like I ran with the money after selling out my own company. Jason ran a hand through his hair. Neat. A red alert suddenly flashed on one of the monitors. Mia swore and expanded the feed, security footage from the cemetery gates. 3 black SUVs had just arrived, their occupants fanning out with military precision. They triangulated us. Mia was already moving, stuffing equipment into a backpack. We need to go? Now. Jason yanked on the tactical pants and boots. How? Through the back. Mia pressed a hidden panel, revealing another tunnel entrance. This one much smaller, barely large enough to crawl through. Leads to the old subway maintenance tunnels. The first gunshot rang out just as Jason squeezed into the passage. Concrete exploded where his head had been seconds earlier. Mia shoved a pistol into his hand. If we get separated, meet at the waterfront docks. Midnight. Then she was crawling ahead, her movements swift and sure. Jason followed, the rough concrete scraping his knees even through the tactical pants. Behind them, shouts echoed through the mausoleum. A flashlight beam lanced past his foot. The tunnel seemed to go on forever, twisting and turning until Jason lost all sense of direction. His breath came in ragged gasps, his muscles burning. Just when he thought he couldn't go further, cool night air washed over his face. They emerged in a subway service alcove, the tracks silent and dark at this hour. Mia helped him to his feet, then immediately froze. A figure stood on the platform above them, silhouetted against the emergency lights. The distinctive outline of a rifle slung across their chest was unmistakable. Mia's grip on Jason's arm tightened painfully. Then, a bird call. An actual owl's hoot, too perfect to be natural. The figure above them responded with a different call. Mia relaxed marginally. Friend. Depends, a woman's voice answered. You still owe me for Budapest. Mia actually smiled. Add it to my tab. A rope ladder unfurled down to them. Jason climbed first, his muscles screaming in protest. When he reached the platform, he found himself face to face with a wiry woman in her 50s, her gray hair cropped short, her eyes sharp as flint. She looked Jason up and down. So you're the package. Before Jason could respond, distant shouts echoed through the tunnels. Their pursuers were closing in. The woman, Jason never caught her name, led them through a maze of service corridors and up several flights of stairs until they emerged onto a rooftop overlooking the city. A helicopter waited, its blades already spinning up. Get in, their rescuers shouted over the noise. I'll buy you 15 minutes, no more. Mia didn't hesitate, pulling Jason toward the chopper. As they lifted off, Jason saw their mysterious ally calmly setting up what looked like a sniper rifle on the roof's edge. The city spread out below them, its lights twinkling deceptively peaceful. Mia handed Jason a headset so they could talk over the rotor noise. Where now? Jason asked. Mia's face was grim in the cockpit's glow. Somewhere even Velis can't reach us. She handed him another tablet, this one showing live satellite footage of the warehouse district. But first, we prepare. The screen zoomed in on their destination. Heat signatures showed at least 20 armed guards stationed around the building, another dozen inside, and one figure standing exactly where Jason's old workstation used to be. Daniel, holding the blue USB drive like a trophy. Jason's jaw tightened. We'll never get close. Mia's smile was all teeth. We're not going to them. She tapped the screen, pulling up schematics of the warehouse's electrical systems. They're coming to us. As the helicopter banked toward the river, Jason studied the plans. The trap was elegant in its simplicity, but one detail caught his eye. A secondary location marked only with coordinates and a single word, nest. What's this? He asked. Mia's expression closed off. Last resort. Before Jason could press further, an alarm blared in the cockpit. The pilot cursed and threw them into a steep dive. A missile streaked past, close enough that the heat washed over the cabin. "Velas has air support now?" Jason shouted. Mia was already strapping into a harness. "They've always had it." She handed Jason a parachute. "Hope you remember how to use one of these." The helicopter banked violently again as another missile locked on. The pilot's voice crackled in their headsets. 30 seconds to drop point. "Make them count." Jason's hands shook as he fastened the harness. Below them, the river looked like a black snake winding through the city. The altimeter dropped rapidly. Mia checked his straps one last time, her face unreadable. "Ready to take your company back?" The helicopter door slid open, the wind roaring like a living thing. Somewhere behind them, the missile closed in. Jason took a deep breath. "Let's burn it all down." They jumped. The wind howled past Jason's ears as he plummeted toward the river, the chute's ripcord burning against his fingertips. Below him, the missile struck the helicopter in a fireball that lit up the night sky, raining molten debris across the waterfront. He yanked the cord at the last possible second, the parachute snapping open with a force that jerked his spine straight. Cold black water swallowed him whole. For one terrifying moment, Jason tumbled through the inky darkness, disoriented and weightless. Then his training kicked in. He fought toward the surface, bursting through with a gasp just as his chute collapsed into the current beside him. The river smelled of diesel and rotting fish, the taste coating his tongue as he struggled to stay afloat. A hand grabbed his vest from behind. Mia surfaced beside him, her face streaked with soot from the explosion. "Follow the current," she shouted over the roar of the flames above them. "Docks in half a mile." They let the river carry them, keeping low between floating chunks of helicopter wreckage that might shield them from thermal imaging. Jason's muscles burned with exhaustion, his waterlogged gear dragging him down. Every few strokes, he scanned the shoreline for movement, black-clad figures with rifles, patrol boats, drones, but saw only the occasional late-night jogger oblivious to the battle raging overhead. The dock appeared suddenly from the gloom, its rotting pilings looming like skeletal fingers. Mia grabbed a rusted ladder and hauled herself up with practiced ease. Jason followed more clumsily, his fingers slipping on the slimy rungs. He collapsed onto the warped planks, coughing up river water. Mia was already moving, stripping off her tactical vest to reveal civilian clothes beneath. She tossed Jason a bundle from a hidden compartment under the dock. "Change. Quickly." The jeans and hoodie felt alien after days in suits and tactical gear. Mia stuffed their wet equipment into a weighted bag and sank it in the river, then pressed a key fob. Headlights flared to life in the nearby parking lot, a nondescript delivery van with a bakery logo on the side. "Get in the back," Mia ordered. "Don't speak until we're clear." The van's interior smelled of stale bread and disinfectant. Jason crouched behind stacks of empty pastry boxes as Mia slid into the driver's seat. They rolled slowly past the waterfront security checkpoint, Mia exchanging pleasantries with the guard about an early morning delivery. Only when they'd crossed the bridge into the industrial district did Jason dare breathe. Where now? Mia's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. Somewhere even Velas wouldn't think to look. The van wound through increasingly run-down neighborhoods before stopping at a 24-hour laundromat. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as they entered, the humid air thick with the scent of detergent and mildew. A lone attendant dozed behind bulletproof glass. Mia led Jason past rows of churning machines to the last dryer on the right. She punched a code into the keypad. The machine's door clicked open, revealing not a drum but another keypad. This one accepted her fingerprint before the entire bank of dryers swung outward, exposing a steel door. Jason blinked. Seriously? Abandoned speakeasy tunnel. Mia palmed the door open. Prohibition-era smugglers knew what they were doing. The hidden space beyond was shockingly modern, a compact tech hub with multiple monitors displaying security feeds from around the city. One screen showed Rebecca in their penthouse, sipping wine while scrolling through a tablet. Another tracked Daniel's movements through the warehouse. A third displayed a live news feed about the mysterious helicopter crash. Mia tossed Jason a towel. "Rest. You'll need it." Jason studied the feeds, his exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "You've been watching them this whole time." "Not me." Mia nodded to the shadows. Them. Two figures emerged from an adjoining room. A wiry teenager with neon green hair and an older man whose mechanical leg whirred softly with each step. The kid grinned. Boss said you'd bring the golden goose eventually. The older man smacked the back of the kid's head. Show respect. He extended a hand to Jason. Mr. Reed, we've been safeguarding your work for months. Jason's pulse spiked. My work. Mia opened a secure case, revealing a stack of solid-state drives. Every backup, every iteration, even the prototypes you thought were lost in testing. The realization hit Jason like a physical blow. Mia hadn't just been preparing to run. She'd been preparing to rebuild. He turned to her, 100 questions burning in his throat. But the green-haired kid interrupted, spinning a monitor around. Guys, we've got company. The feed showed black SUVs converging on the laundromat from 3 directions. No lights, no sirens, just the steady advance of professional hunters. Mia didn't hesitate. Scorch protocol. The older man moved with surprising speed, initiating a sequence on the main console. The teenager began smashing equipment with a crowbar, sparks flying. Jason grabbed Mia's arm. What the hell is happening? They found our backup location. Mia shoved a drive into his hand. This is everything. The final iteration of your algorithm. The one even Daniel didn't know about. The lights flickered as the older man triggered the self-destruct. 90 seconds to meltdown. Go. Mia pulled Jason through a rear exit, just as the first SUVs screeched to a halt out front. The tunnel beyond was narrow and damp, the walls lined with crumbling brick. Somewhere behind them, the first explosion rocked the foundation, sending dust cascading from the ceiling. They ran until Jason's lungs burned, emerging in the basement of an abandoned church. Moonlight streamed through broken stained glass, painting the rubble in eerie blues and reds. Mia went straight to a particular pew, prying up a floorboard to reveal a cache of weapons and cash. Jason leaned against the pulpit, his breath ragged. Who are you really? Mia loaded a pistol with practiced efficiency. Someone who believes in your work. She tossed him a fresh magazine. Someone who's been fighting Velis longer than you know. Footsteps echoed in the tunnel behind them. Too close. Mia's expression hardened. Time's up. She checked her watch. 27 hours until the warehouse deadline. We do this my way now. The first gunman burst through the door just as Mia's bullet took him between the eyes. The second hesitated, a fatal mistake. Jason's shot caught him in the throat. They moved through the ruined church like ghosts, picking off their pursuers one by one until the night fell silent again. Outside, the city skyline glittered mockingly in the distance. Somewhere out there, Daniel and Rebecca thought they'd won. Thought Jason was broken and on the run. Mia ejected her spent magazine. Ready for the hard part. Jason chambered a fresh round. The weight of the gun felt right in his hand. Felt like justice. What's the play? We don't wait for their deadline. Mia's smile was all teeth. We take the warehouse tonight. The distant wail of sirens began to build as they melted into the night. Somewhere ahead lay answers. Somewhere behind, the smoldering remains of the life Jason thought he knew. And in his pocket, the drive containing his life's work, and possibly the key to bringing down an empire, burned like a coal. The warehouse doors exploded inward before Daniel even heard the breach alarm. Jason stepped through the smoke with Mia at his flank, their weapons sweeping the cavernous space where he'd once dreamed up his first startup. The irony tasted bitter. This was where everything began, and where it would end. Daniel stood frozen near Jason's old workstation, the blue USB drive slipping from his fingers. You're supposed to be dead. Jason kicked the drive aside. You should know by now, I always have backups. The firefight lasted 17 seconds. Exactly how long it took Mia's team to neutralize Daniel's mercenaries. When the gun smoke cleared, Jason stood over his former partner, watching the arrogant smirk finally crack. You'll never prove anything, Daniel spat. Velis owns the courts. Jason tapped his earpiece. The warehouse speakers crackled to life, broadcasting Rebecca's panicked voice from a tapped phone call. Dimitri, they have the files. All of them. Daniel's face went slack. The great unraveling had begun. Jason sagged against a support beam, his hands shaking not from fear but exhaustion. Across the room, Mia methodically checked each fallen mercenary, her movements precise even now. The warehouse smelled of gunpowder and spilled coffee from a toppled machine, mundane scents underscoring the surreal victory. News vans already surrounded Velis headquarters by dawn. Rebecca was arrested trying to board a private jet. Daniel would later cut a deal, turning on Dmitry Volkov in exchange for witness protection. None of it brought Jason satisfaction. Only the quiet realization that trust, once broken, could never be fully repaired. Mia met Jason on the rooftop of his reclaimed company building 1 week later. She handed him a dossier, every secret account, every shell company, every dirty secret Velis had buried. "It's done," was all she said before walking away, her past still carefully guarded but her debt repaid. Jason stood at the window of his new office, watching construction crews remove the Velis logo across the street. The algorithms were secure, the patents protected, but the man who'd walked into that warehouse wasn't the same one who emerged. He'd learned the hardest truth: some battles couldn't be won with code alone. The first snow of winter dusted the city as Jason unlocked a nondescript door in a quiet neighborhood. Inside, the green-haired kid from Mia's team looked up from a bank of monitors. "Ready to get to work?" she asked. Jason set down the box containing his old nameplate, the one that read CEO, and rolled up his sleeves. Somewhere out there, new predators would come. But now he'd be waiting.